Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Hopefully, everybody had themselves a good weekend. Let me go over here and hit this like and share. Hopefully, you guys do the same. Let everybody know we're on. But today we're going to be talking about a few headlines of things that are going on in Hollywood, as we normally do. And we're going to be talking about one of these modern expressions called copium. I like it. I like it. It's definitely fits the narrative, doesn't it? And we're seeing a lot of that. It gets mentioned as doubling down, tripling down. Of course, I don't know what, decadupling. We're past that, I think. But they're way down. But it doesn't seem to be helping. So they just yell and scream as we normally know, but they don't seem to back up. And Disney, of course, is a very good example of this. You would think they would have, you know, retraced their paces steps a little bit, but they're not. They're pushing forward, and we're going to get into a few of the things that they're doing today. And they're not slowing down at all. They are 100% on the message, 100%, and they're not shifting at all. There has been seemingly possible cracks here or there, but as far as what they've announced for the future, they're rebooting all of the live action, even the stuff they've made in the past few years. I mean, recent stuff, because it's just not woke enough. It's just not. So they're going to redo Cinderella. That didn't come out that long ago. Beauty and the Beast, that just came out a short time ago, right? What, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. They're got to deal with it all because it's just not enough, right? It's just not enough. So there's the world, according to Disney, and they're floundering and in deep, deep trouble. But that doesn't seem to matter. So I'm kind of curious what we're going to see happen coming in the future as these companies literally burn down. Um, so I guess that's just the plan, and fair enough. Fair enough. But I got a few stories to get into in that regard. And we got Roger over here. Hello. We got Dave. Copium, not just bike rocks, bikes locks. What? I don't know what that means. Lorenzo Slisak says, "Hey, everybody." Well, hello, Lorenzo. One of my favorite shows as a kid. Um, well, now Land of the Lost. Now I don't know how many seasons that had, but I do remember that very distinctly as being one of my favorite things to watch, though. And the Slee Stacks were really interesting. One of them was like a leader, a good guy, and they talk with him a lot. What was his name? What was the good Slee Stacks name, Lorenzo? I don't think it was Lorenzo. Can't remember. Had that her dad and brother and sister. Sister was kind of oddly cute. She wasn't traditionally cute, but she was kind of cute. I remember. I was a little kid. I loved that show. It was really good. They were in a yellow raft and went into the underworld, surviving. I don't know how, but they did. And they didn't get eaten. And they had a caveman. I guess it was supposed to be a Neanderthal boyfriend. And they had their little adventures. Land of the Lost and the Slee Sex. So now you know. Well, thank you, Roger. Yeah. I still don't know what bike rocks is. Bikes rocks. Yeah, not sure. Anyway, let's see here. Let me go over and check on the other side to see if I have anyone actually coming. Here we go. Thundero's not coming today, so it is just me. That's all right. I'll stay on for a little while and I'll cover the stuff I'm going to get into today. And it's just really interesting. I kind of imagined here for the past few years, just being a businessman myself, that they would have course corrected. I mean, yeah, okay, you're getting kind of pressure from these big investment banks who control all the money. and control the distribution and things like that. I'd imagine, you try to find a way through it. And of course, we know there's wokeites within Disney itself, but you would think they would have kind of, them and some of the other big companies would have found a way around it, but they didn't, and they're not. And it's because they don't want to. They're doing exactly what they want. And one of the things we've suggested on this channel since day one is that this isn't, and we've been doing this, what, 6 years now? Nearly 6 years. This is all intentional. The idea is to tear these things down. That's the whole point. Kathleen Kennedy is 100% on point of exactly what she wants to destroy Lucasfilm, because she has some kind of angst against Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, whom she has worked with on several occasions. Uh, this well may be true because she succeeded. I mean, boy, is she successful. She has absolutely destroyed it. The new Ahsoka is already well past anyone caring about Star Wars stuff, but it's the wokest thing that they put out, and they don't care that it's bombing. They don't care that no one cares. They don't care. Um, let's see. Lorenz said there was a Sleestax leader, but you're probably thinking of Enoch, the ancient Eltrusian. The Eltrusians were the ancestors of the Sleestaks. Yeah, I was thinking about the smart guy that was like frozen and they unfroze him or something like that. I remember there was like a smart, nice one that they dealt with. Yeah, it's all trash. It is all trash. And a lot of entertainment is potentially trash anyway. But when we like it, when we get a chuckle out of it, we call it schlocky, right? We have this word schlock, and schlock can be just fine. We can enjoy that, but when it's toxic and hateful and against you, and they tell you we don't want you here, we don't, you're not, this is not made for you, you're not welcome. It's like, okay, well, I'm fine with that because I know some people are want to force change on people, but I don't. It's their company. They can do whatever they want. That's 100% fine. But so can I, right? That's how I look at it. It's not it's not my business to tell Disney what to do. That's their business. It's their products. They pay for it. They own it. They can do whatever the hell they want. But like I said, so can I. And they've definitely destroyed any of my interest whatsoever. And there is some kind of you know counter evidence that suggests that they might be in a course correction, but they just released a bunch of information about what their future plans are. And like I said, they're going to be rebooting all their live action stuff. Not only the older one, like Cinderella, which is what, 10 years ago or something like that, but the more recent Beauty and the Beast, because the reason being, they're not woke enough. They're not diverse enough. So they're going to be redoing everything in live action. I didn't see really any kind of announcements on animation. They're just kind of stuck on the live action stuff, which is fine. Disney's done plenty of that. But yeah, they're not backing down at all, it seems. So yeah, we'll see. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter to me. I have no interest in watching any of their stuff. And for me, the biggest shame is with Star Wars stuff because, you know, for most of my life, I was really would love to have had a good Marvel superhero movie. And then we got like 10 years of pretty fun stuff. I mean, overall, it was pretty fun. And, it went real sideways there after Infinity War. Oh well. you know, we did get a whole bunch. It was 20 some movies, 21, 22 movies, something like that. And in general, they were quite fun. Endgame was not a good movie. Wakanda, whatever they called it, Black Panther, the first one, it had a couple of beats that were fine, but overall, it was not a great movie. But a lot of the movies were great fun. So we have to be happy we got that, right? And I am. The thing that's disappointing is really Lucasfilm because they decided to start putting money on stuff, and we had an opportunity to get some fun things. But We didn't. We got Rogue One. We got a couple seasons of The Mandalorian. So I guess we'll have to be happy with that because before that we haven't had anything good as far as TV shows or movies from Star Wars since the original series. Right? There's been some good video games, comic books, tabletop games. There's been a lot of that stuff, which is great. But there hasn't been any, because the prequels, I know some of you younger people, that's your Star Wars, but it's really not very good. It's really not. It's so full of holes. It's so plot hole ridden. And I think it just comes down to no one around George was willing to stand up and say, "Yeah, yeah, George, that isn't a good job." They were nothing but a bunch of yes men, and he suffered for it, right? But the prequels are not great. But the absolute canker that we have now makes it look watchable, even though it's really not, right? So I was really hoping that we'd get some fun out of it, right? Some good stuff, but we didn't. So for me, the Lucasfilm is the bigger disappointment. And of course, we didn't want to talk about what they did, excuse me, with Indiana Jones. I mean, wow, dude, that's just wrong. I mean, Star Wars is the biggest IP of all time, I would say. But as far as movies go, but Indiana Jones was like an American icon, right? And they just shat upon that. And of course, I guess that's the reason because he was important and male. And how dare he even? Of course, funny thing is, it's interesting to me how Harrison Ford is willing to be on board with this crap. He keeps doing it. Of course, we know he never liked Star Wars anyway. Right? He's never cared for Star Wars. Although it seemed to he has a little more heart for Indiana Jones. But he allowed them to do him dirty like that. He sat there and shot those scenes. But then again, maybe he's probably just another wokeite, another Hollywood wokeite, and agrees, I suppose. Let's see here. Roger continues, like I was saying, nothing but trash. Yeah, no, it is, but it's all right. Just don't imbibe the trash. Um, there are other things to do in life. Enoch was extremely intelligent and a peaceful maker. Yeah, no, I remember him. That was a good show. I don't know why it stuck with me so much, but it really did. Land of the Lost was like one of my favorite things. That and Thunder the Barbarian, love that. And I have very good memories of Captain Kangaroo, and that certainly would have been when I was younger. But Star Blazers, Battle of the Planets, Force 5, all that stuff, the Japanese animation. What else did I watch as a kid? There was a lot of little things, but I didn't really care about them very much. Those are the ones that really stuck out to me. He-Man came, but I was a little bit too old for He-Man. Just my brother was more into He-Man, but I was also one of those kids that was much more into reading or doing like we had a lot of little challenges with the Boy Scouts, right? Like building radios on plywood boards and those kind of things interested me more, and I spent a lot more time sitting in my room building radio boards or reading books whilst listening to the Brady Bunch albums. Yes, I owned at least two of them, and I'm proud of it. They were great. Marsha was a thing. Anyway, let me continue down here. Nine Realms Publishing say, "What's up, party people?" Well, I'm having a kind of a lukewarm cup of coffee and chatting to you guys about Hollywood nonsense, which is a good laugh. But and watching them intentionally burn, which is fun. Let's see here. Lorenzo says Star Wars was at its best when George Lucas was working with Gary Kurtz. Yeah, no, that's true. Back when he had oversight. When George is a good visionary guy. He's kind of an idea man is what he is. And when he had oversight around him, good stuff was made out. Like the original, which we now call the New Hope, but the original Star Wars. Because keep in mind, they had no idea if they were going to get anything beyond the first out. Right? It was just a shot in the dark. At that time, there were just an absolute plethora of spacey sci-fi things coming out. Very similar theme, but his vision and his pedantic nature and the art group that was putting together the beautiful models for him, which were simply at a different level, which ended up becoming ILM, right? And the editors saved that first movie and made it what it is. George is certainly important for it. The second one, which is considered the greatest Star Wars movie of all time, George didn't direct that at all, right? And the third one is certainly the least of the three, in my opinion. But yeah, no, George needs oversight. And but that's okay. It is what it is. At least in the prequels, he had an idea. He just wasn't able to execute it. In this, the problem with the new stuff is they had no plan other than girl power. That's the only plan they had, girl power. It was just all over the place. It's obviously disconnected from itself. The movies are ideas after the fact, kind of like they had to do with Empire Strikes Back, right? Because once again, they didn't know it was going to be that kind of hit, and they didn't know that what they were going to really do with Darth Vader. They didn't really know what they were going to do with Luke and Han and Leia, and they had to stitch something together, and they did a really good job of it, right? Whereas here with Disney, they have not. Nevertheless, let's see here. Thanks for the welcome. Also, want to give a shout out to Rick Piper. Rick's been a friend of the channel here since the beginning. Rick is a comic book illustrator and writer, creator. And Rick has been part of our community since the beginning. And his mom just passed away suddenly, and that's a big hit for him. And condolences, and stay strong, buddy. And you know, things do get brighter. I know that's a big hit for him, and it's a shame. So give Rick your love and some support, please, in that regard. Yeah. So, hey, Grimlock, what's up? Let's see here. What?
Nothing much. Another wonderful Sunday.
Oh, that's good. A wonderful Sunday. It's a nice sunny day for me, but it's Monday, and I
Mm,
have Greek classes today, so it's my Greek day.
Fun.
Yeah, I still can't believe I'm teaching Greek. I don't know what's wrong with the world. I don't know
Didn't
how.
have that on your life bingo card, huh?
I did not, dude. Especially seeing I don't speak Greek. It's really weird. I mean, but of course I can read and write it. I'm actually licensed, so makes sense, I guess. But well, anyway. So it's one of those situations where I'm trying to stay ahead of my classes by studying the sound, the speaking of Greek myself. So I'm basically studying ahead of the class because if you're going to have me teaching like classic Greek, for instance, which I do that as well. But if I was teaching classic Greek and how to read it and historical Greek things, oh, okay, I get that. But actual spoken Greek, modern Greek, it's weird. Oh well, that's the world, I suppose. How was your weekend?
Just the way I like it, peaceful and quiet.
Oh,
It
nice.
was the weather was relatively nice. Um, also, because I came in right at the end of it. Condolences to Rick Piper
Yeah.
and his loss. It sucks. It's never easy.
No, it's not, and particularly with Rick, he's been home living with his mom for a very very long time, right? So it's it's more impactful. My
Oh yeah,
mother passed away a few years ago, right? But
yeah.
I hadn't had seen her in over 20 years outside of a video camera. So it's a little more detached, right? But if you're living in the
Yeah.
same home with the person, and yeah, it's a big deal. So and Nine Realms, like ancient Greek, yeah, yeah. I'm a philologist, is what my job is. I'm a language history expert, translator of ancient Mesopotamian languages. That's what I do, right? But it's just weird that I'm teaching actual modern spoken Greek. It's just weird. I know, I know. You'd have to be there. Nothing but my head. More than trying to read the Iliad in classic Greek. Yeah, no, that I had to do that. Yeah. But ancient Greek's not so bad. It's really really important. You know, you can track the alphabet, for instance. The ABCs. You could track them all the way back. Well, most of the letters to Egypt, and we can go through the Egyptians into the Phoenicians and the Greeks and the Romans, all the way to modern time. You can track the evolution of the letters themselves,
Yeah.
and that's kind of interesting if you have an afternoon and you're bored. But beyond that, our modern language, European languages, but particularly English and the German languages, are heavily influenced by the classic Hellenic language. Heavily. So, let's see here. So I'm basically James Spader from Stargate. Yeah, no. Was that actor's name, James Spader? Yeah, no, that's that's what I am. I am that. I followed in the footsteps of the great J.R.R. Tolkien, one of the greatest philologists of all time. So, although he wasn't my inspiration. Did I tell you what my inspiration was?
Money.
When I was a little kid, why I went into anthropology, why I went into, historical stuff. I saw a movie when I was a kid. It was called Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah,
It's a good movie.
it is a good movie. It inspired me, and I wanted to be like that. And then I got into it and found out, one, it is nothing like the movie at all. And two, I was really heavily pushed into the linguistic side of things because, well, I had a knack for it, I guess. But because my professors really didn't want to hear anything else, right? So, all right, fine. That's what I'm doing. Because I really wanted to be a site digger, and I did some of that in university, of course, but every summer. But that really wasn't the direction they wanted me to go. So yeah, it is what it is. Did you go to any kind of trade school or university or any kind of extra curricular studies?
Me, yeah.
What did you do?
Um, I went to, I guess you could say it's trade. I don't know what to exactly call it because I guess it's considered a university, but Piedmont Technical College.
Yeah, trade school.
Um,
Those are
yeah,
great. I mean, honestly, I've said this. You've heard me say it many times. Most humans should go to a trade school. You should go to a trade
yeah.
school. Don't waste your money on university shit. The only reason I went really was because I had a full boat ride. That's why I ended up at Brown, was because they paid me to go there. So, but if you don't have
That's,
that, go to a trade school, dude. Narrow it down and be specific. What did you study at Tech?
uh, com- I got an associate in computer and
Hmm.
IT technology.
Yeah, there you go, man.
I
That Now that's what you do. I'm telling you, the trade school is the way to go. You're wasting money otherwise. And if you do go to university, you could better make sure it's one of those big banger ones, right? Where you're doing a
Yeah,
6, 8 year plan. Don't go otherwise. Don't go for those 4 years and build up that debt for a major in philosophy or gender studies or even business.
Jesus.
Screw that, dude. Go to a trade school. It is the way to go. I advise most of my every now and then you get a student, you're like, yeah, you should be a doctor or something, right? Occasionally I get
Yeah.
one, but generally, no, go to a trade school, spend 2 years at a trade school learning something, and those trade schools are built, they're set up, excuse me, to highway you into that business, into that industry. They have connections, and you can go right from that 2 years of trade right into an apprenticeship of some kind, right? That's how
Yeah.
you do it, man. That's how you do that, right? My kids went a different route, but then again, my kids have, I didn't stop them because they went into very serious professional studies, right? My daughter is
Yeah.
a pharmaceutical chemist, and my son is a engineer, and they
Yeah. That's
yeah, it's different. So, but in
yeah.
general, I advise people to go into trade school. I really do. That's cool. So computers, huh? Yeah, it's handy.
Yeah.
You know what I was doing? Yeah, it was yesterday. Yesterday, I watched a documentary yesterday from
On.
the gamer. You ever heard of that channel called Gamers Nexus?
No. Can't say that I have.
Well, I watch a bunch of computers are kind of my default hobby, right?
Yeah.
Just because I'm too busy. And but so I watch a lot of YouTube stuff to understand all the technical and learn about the new technologies. And every now and then, when I'm going to buy something, I go do research, and I got a selection of channels that I watch, and I kind of gravitate toward the ultra smart nerd, not the geeky nerd. In that regard, because I want actual serious information. And Gamers Next is a great choice for that. Those guys are technically savvy. They're licensed in a lot of things. They're actually knowledgeable about the hardware and the software itself, not just I like video games, which is cool, but that's not what I'm looking for out of them. So Gamer Nexus is probably the one I go to the most because
Hmm.
they are so knowledgeable. But they went over to I guess to Taiwan, yeah, in Taipei, I guess, somewhere in Taiwan. And they went to AMD's headquarters. And it's first group that's ever had access like that. And they went in and they were able to see behind the scenes of how everything is made, and all the little technical places and what they do. And it was very technical. Unless you like that kind of thing, don't watch it, because it'll bore the hell out of you. My wife complained the entire time. But it was wonderful for me, though, because you know what? It always strikes me too. The technology we have is actually not new.
No.
It's
You're
not.
usually years behind.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, it's not new at all. We just perceive it to be so. Because going into those labs and seeing all the actual behind the scene testing and working and building that they do, um, it's the same thing we've been doing for the past 100 years. It's the same technology, the same oscillators, the same frequency readers that it looked like you just stepped into the 60s with all the equipment sitting around. I know it's more modern and it's new, but it looks like that because the technology has not changed. It's not actually different. It's just been miniaturized. It's still transistors and capacitors. It's still that. It hasn't changed. If you go watch the old
Yep.
you go look some like Mr. Carlson's Laboratory. I love that YouTube channel. You guys would probably hate it, but I love it. And my wife said he is
Mm.
the most boring man on earth. And she's probably right. But Mr. Carlson is an electrical expert, a real one, an actual teacher, and he repairs old stuff. And if you go look at the old cathode ray tubes and the old radios from like 100 some years ago, and all their tubes and
Mhm.
vacuum tubes and various things they have in there. Well, the technology we have today is that. It's the same thing. They just found better
Yeah.
ways to move
More
electricity
modernized.
through an object. They've modernized a little bit, but not much. When you look at a circuit board, it's no different than the layout of those old radios. It's exactly the same. And if you go watch something like Mr. Carlson's Laboratory on YouTube, you will recognize it. And I love those when I learn and see those kind of things. That's
Yeah,
information for me, right? Because this is not my area of expertise, right?
yeah.
So, but I love it. And when they went to AMD Studio and they did like they're just nerds talking to nerds about stuff they love, right? It was wonderful. And but seeing all of those that old style equipment that we've been using for over 100 years, and it hasn't changed. It's the same technology. It's really that was really cool to me. I loved it. Yeah. My wife did not though. She was not pleased. She was not interested. Let's put it that way. Oh
She
well.
was not entertained.
Well, the thing is, 90% of the time when she's in the house, who's controlling the TV? Who do you think? Guess.
She is.
Yeah, of course, and that's fine. I don't care. You watch whatever you want because most of the time I don't even watch the TV. I'm doing
Mm.
something else, and if I do, I'm going to watch something like Mr. Carlson's Laboratory, where he's repairing an 80-year-old radio from Russia that was used during the Cold War. Yes, please, more of that, right? But she's not interested. Does that sound interesting to you, though? I mean, I remember that episode where he got a hold of that old Cold War radio surveillance kit, Russian surveillance kit he had gotten, and he was just going through it. He was so geeking out over it, and I get it. So was I with him, right? It was neat.
Yeah.
But my wife just didn't understand the appeal at all. The one that I think she lost it on, she literally left the room. He was setting up his own antenna in his backyard, and he was explaining the height and how important it was to have this amount of run, and he was just running a wire. It was just a single wire across, but it was very technically done. And of course he got this amazing reception out of his antenna, and it was a great episode. But she was like,
Then the
nope.
wife who said, "I can't take this shit."
That's right, can't take this shit anymore. And off she went. Whatever. Gamers Nexus is
Right?
excellent. Yeah, they are. They're very very proficient, and I've been watching them for years. But I just saw this documentary where they went to AMD. It was really neat. I suggest you go watch it. It's cool to see that. 'Cause like I said, I love computers, but it's not my expertise. And
Yeah.
I probably know more than the average person because I put the time in, but it's really not my field. But I do love it. Um, let's see. Lorenz said, "This is unfortunate." Going back to Rick, Rick found his mother's body when she passed away. Yeah, no, well, he's in the same house with her, so I imagine, yeah. I remember, of course, my wife wouldn't like this. My my wife is allergic to alcohol. I have come to this conclusion. She's one, Asians in general, cannot drink alcohol very at huge quantities. They're not built for it. And of course, in America, we have the Native Americans, which keep in mind those Indians in America. And of course, you can go talk to them; they'll tell you their history. They only came over about 1,500 years ago or so, right into it.
I
I
drank
know.
with them one time, Chester.
Y-
Never again.
Never again, because the Asians cannot handle alcohol. They cannot. And my wife is even more sensitive to it, and she
Mm.
takes some around the New Year period where because they get blooming here much quicker than we do, where at least where I grew up. And the cedar, which the Americans, the military, put in all across Japan to try to help create an industry, right? But
Hmm.
it back they still it is an industry, but it did have a little bit of a backfire because it seems that a lot of the Japanese are allergic to the pollen of this specific cedar tree that the Americans planted here in Japan. So they have a cedar allergy season, and she takes medicine like a lot of other people, and she had a drink, not all drinks, just a little bit of a drink, and she literally fell down and was stopped breathing on the floor, and I had to
Oh
resuscitate her.
wow,
Yeah, no, it sucked. It
that's not
sucked.
good.
And my kids were little and they're running around. And I looked at my daughter and I didn't say anything because I was dealing with my wife on the floor. But it was old enough to instantly understand, come the fuck down and get your brother under control. I didn't say a word, but it was the look, and
Yeah.
she did it. So I was proud of her. But so I know how it feels. Luckily, my wife, I just literally had to get her breathing again. It didn't take much. But I know how that feels.
And that
That's
had to be some scary shit though.
oh hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Especially if you didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's true. I always suspected that because she can't drink, dude. But I think it was a combination of that allergy medicine that was the
Oh yeah,
bad
some of
thing.
that medicine will fuck your world. I
They
tell
will.
people
Yeah.
that I have a lot of allergies, and they're like, "Well, why don't you take it?" It's like because it's misery on top of misery, and I'm like, if I'm gonna pick, if I gotta pick, I'm not gonna add on to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm very fortunate. Knock wood. I've never had an allergy in my life. I'm fortunate.
be
Um.
grateful for that because
Yeah. No, I am.
my because I don't know why, but a lot of people now are developing allergies in their older age. Like
Yeah.
I don't think this was a common thing before because like now my parents have allergies and they didn't. I was the only one in the house for like 30 years,
Wow.
and now my dad's like he's gotten allergies and he's like, you mean to tell me this was the shit you were dealing with? I'm like, yeah,
And that sucks. Yeah, no, I've seen it. My whole family has some kind of allergy around me. But you know what the thing is, and I wish I had been more observant and more studied in regard as I am now. But if you
yeah,
have children, get a cat. Yeah, I know. Just get a cat because cats have some amazing things built into them. And one of the things they have built into them is the fact that well, there's many things, but the one thing in particular is being around cats as a child is going to reduce your chances of any kind of allergy or just random sickness greatly. Cats have
and
this quality to them. So, even if you don't like cats, have a cat in the house. Having animal around kids anyway is good. I mean, they could teach them. Don't break it. It's a good teaching tool, right? But cats actually have value in regard to this, right?
yeah,
And I'm sure it extends to other kinds of animals as well, but cats particularly. And we used to be surrounded by animals a lot, right? When I was a kid, there were cats and dogs around. There was a cow. There were occasionally pigs. There were chickens, and I had to go get the eggs or clean out the coop. We had rabbits. I was around animals all the time as a kid, constantly. And this is, I think, has benefit. We're too sterile. We're too clean these days. And you got to keep in mind, these things are just going to get worse. Particularly, we just went through several years of a moronic
uh,
population taking and putting antibacterials on their hands multiple times a day. Do you know how stupid
yep.
that is? Do you know how dumb that
But
is?
most people don't know that you more often than not you're overdoing it with those fucking
And
hand
you're
sanitizers.
making it worse for you in the future, is what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not good. So, but there it is. But so you're going to see more of that actually. Let's see here. Let
yeah.
me continue down. Nine Realms Published saying, I was good at language stuff. I just hated doing it. I got a history degree, but it's okay. I had a GI Bill. That's cool. Uh, God needs to a D over on this reality. Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and I saw how they called Linus Tech Tips as well, called out. Well, I mean, I saw that too. This just happened recently. LTT is. I would suggest that Linus is probably the largest voice on YouTube when it comes to computer stuff. I think he's the big deal. He's the PewDiePie of the PC world in that regard. I don't know if there's anyone bigger than Linus, but Linus is always, well, he's PewDiePie. It's goofing and joking, and it's not that serious. If you want a serious tech review where they go to extreme lengths to give you very explicit information, go to Gamers Nexus. Those guys take,
Yep.
or people like it. They're
Or
very serious.
Digital Foundry.
Yeah. Go to someone who's serious. Linus is all about just, entertaining you. He's an entertainer. And Gamers Nexus called them out ultimately because they felt that they were causing harm, and I understand their reason for doing that, and they're probably right. But Linus is not that thing. If you want to actually get accurate information, you don't go to LTT. You go to somewhere else. But if you want to be entertained and see the new cool shit, go to Linus, right? And that's what he's good for, you know. And he's made quite an amazing company for himself. So
Yep. There's a lot of channels like that. That's one
sure,
thing that I've been talking about with people that why I say the mainstream media, as people know it, is dead, because I don't think they can compete with that, because there's so many. Not only there's so many different I guess you could say genres you can just go to before that you couldn't before, but there's literally something for everybody.
yeah,
Like you said, if you're into tech and you don't like Linus, you could go to, like you said, Game and Nexus or Digital Foundry, or I'm trying to think. Like when I was in college, Professor Messer was a great resource for me, because
right,
he did the live streams for the CompTIA
right.
stuff, and that did help me. Well, it didn't help me pass the fucking certification, but
Mm.
it helped me with a lot of other stuff. But there's so many avenues. In fact, I'm trying to look, and explaining computers is another one that I was going to, because I'm trying to look at all the ones that I have, because I have like a ton of subscriptions. I actually have two different YouTube profiles, so I could keep some of this stuff separate, so I can actually find it when I'm looking for it.
Right. Yeah, no, I know what you mean,
Um,
though. I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for. I mean, for a lot of
yeah,
people, Linus is good fun, and that's all you need, right? If you're just a hobbyist, I think what Gamers Nexus concern was that they
yeah,
were being shoddy in their work. They were given incorrect information,
incorrect. Yeah,
and they were browbeating creators that they had no business browbeating. That's what I think pissed him off the most, because that's what pissed me off the most.
mm,
Because honestly, going into Linus's tech tips and thinking you're getting this top end information is kind of like you believing that when you're smoking a cigarette, it's good for you. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Linus is not that dude. He's an entertainer. But the thing that pissed me off about that whole Gamers Nexus calling them out was that particularly that company that they had given them a hardware piece to review, and
hmm
they told them exactly how they needed to review it, and they didn't. They just went and did whatever they wanted with it, and then therefore it didn't work, and they just said, "Oh, this is shit, it's shit," and they just beat the hell out of them, and it completely unfair. And then to make it worse, they had some kind of auction, and they sold the piece off, even though they were supposed to give it back and
wow.
well agreed to do so. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's what pissed me off about the whole thing. The other stuff about Linus not being actually accurate, yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
Right. I don't care about that. But I do care about and it's just because they're uppity. They're just uppity, right? They're the big shots. They make a lot of money. They get millions of views every video they drop, right? Millions. And they're just uppity little shitheads is what they
well,
became, right? And
I
that
think one thing that these people are running into is kind of similar to what a lot of athletes run into, when all of a sudden shit comes in real fast.
oh yeah.
like you come in like you know one day you're Joe Blow, then the next minute you're this big streamer or whatever the fuck, and you got millions of eyes on you. You got all sorts of endorsement deals,
Yep,
or
yep, yeah. It just goes to your head.
people
Some
giving you
people,
free shit. Yeah,
yeah, some people can't
a
handle
lot
it.
of
Yeah,
people can't handle that shit.
yeah.
I'll say it's more than some. I think it takes. I would say it would take a very special person to be able to come into that kind of shit like day one and not make mistakes.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, one of the first one that comes to my mind is Kurt Russell. He's been in
Yeah,
the industry since he was a little kid, but he's always kept his perspective. It seems so.
yeah,
So he's the first person that comes to my head is successfully navigating it. But yeah, no, it's a problem. Roger said he's
yeah.
been subscribed to Mr. Carl's Lab for quite a while now. Love his channel, but the dude looks a bit creepy to me. Yeah, well, he's an electronics professor. What do you want, right? But I just love the knowledge because anything it's not my field that I find interesting. I love. Let me rephrase that.
Like,
Um, Watching a master do what they do, no matter what it is amazingly interesting to me.
yeah.
How's that?
Oh yeah. Well, like you said, there's certain channels like Linus is more entertainment
Yeah.
side, where you know Mr. Carl Gaming Nexus gets to the point. There's channels like that in all genres.
Yep.
Like if you're into cars, I'm pretty sure anybody who watches anything on cars on YouTube, you've heard of Scotty Kilmer.
No.
And I like, really, you're
Uh,
actually one of the few who hasn't. But Scotty Kilmer, he's good. He knows his shit, but he does stuff, to be a bit more on the entertaining side. And then you'll have a guy like the Car Wizard, who's also knows his shit, but he's more like Carlson, where he gets straight to the point.
oh yeah. It is boring, wonderfully so. But
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I haven't seen enough Linus stuff. I've seen a handful of videos over the years, of course, but I don't know enough. But I kind of feel like um, Linus, and someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I've always got the feeling off of Linus that he worked at the Geek Center at some electronics store like Best Buy or
probably did.
something. And he was the guy that fixed your computer. I always felt that that's where he's coming from. He's that dude. And he just hit it big. And he has certainly has some knowledge, obviously, but he's not an expert. And the guys at Gamers Nexus, they're a very different type of nerd, right? Those guys are licensed in stuff you've never even heard of, and they take it very, very seriously. But then
For a
again,
second, I thought you was going to say license and nerd.
well, they have that too. Um, but that's the dudes that you want to go to AMD in Taiwan and have a chat with their nerds, right? Because now you're getting down to some information. Now you're getting some cool insight, right? Because they all speak the same language. And thank God for nerds, man. I mean, they make the world go around. But it's just a different thing. And if Linus went there, it would have been a completely different show, right? I mean, he would have focused on things that didn't mean anything. They had no value. He'd be looking at the RGB, is what he'd be doing, right? Where these guys were looking at how do you mill a plate for heat distribution is what they were. That kind of stuff is much more interesting to me. Where Linus would have been more on the flashy bling bling, and that's fine. There's nothing
Yep.
wrong with that. Until he does things like what he did with that startup company's prototype, which is unacceptable behavior. It's unacceptable, dude. Right? And that's just the guys got up in it. Of course, they've completely shut the channel down now, as far as I know. So, the Gamers Nexus put an end to
That's
that. Boy, yeah, no, it is.
that's a good thing. Take a step back,
Mhm.
take a few moments to figure some shit out, get your shit together.
Yeah, no, I agree. especially where they're coming from. It's kind of like if I, decided to create my own YouTube channel talking about comic books, even though I'm literally a history professor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, right? I'm certainly more knowledgeable about comic books than the average individual, and even some comic nerds, but I am by no means an expert, an actual expert, right?
Oh yeah.
I just have an opinion, and that's all. That's good enough. And that's mainly what Linus always was. And it just
Yep.
looks like recently he's been stepping over the line because they got too big for their britches. They got too corporate, is I think what happened.
Oh,
But yeah, that whole debacle is quite interesting. Go check out the Gamers Nexus calling them out and all the fallout that came after it. I was actually a little bit proud of the computer nerd community and how they handled that because a lot of people could have just simply sided with Linus and there would have been like a hot war on the internet, right? But they didn't. Everyone saw what Gamers Nexus was talking about and agreed. It was very
the
simple.
hell.
Yeah, and it was the
Yeah.
right choice, because you know how things get, right?
Yeah. And one thing is with these tech with tech as fast as tech moves and as expensive as tech is, the last thing you want to do is buy the wrong thing based on the recommendation of somebody else, and now you're stuck.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Because
true. That is true. But it depends on what you're doing, right? It depends what you're doing.
yeah,
Gamers Nexus is for computer enthusiasts, which I am. I am that. I'm not that level of knowledge, but I'm an enthusiast. So the
yeah,
the the machine that's sitting in front of me is more than I need. It just is,
right?
right? I don't need this freaking beast. Particularly seeing as what I, a stronger CPU is good for me. But in general, what do I do? I play City Skylines and The Sims and an occasional MMO. I mean, that's what I do. I'm not
But
playing these
you,
top end FPSs. I'm not playing Cyberpunk. I'm not, any of these things
yeah,
that truly stress your system. I rarely use Blender, and when I do, I suck at it. So, I don't need the lumens,
yeah.
but I got them, bitch.
Hey, and you built it, so
I did build it. Yeah, that's but
there's also that.
that's half the fun, though, dude. Right? And
Yeah,
I'm seriously, guys, build your own damn PC. First of all, you're going to save 20 to 50%, or even more, depending on the situation. You got to save money, and it's a great little adventure. It's not hard. It's all plug and play, man. The only hard thing is making sure that you marry whatever cooling system you have to the CPU. But there's plenty of tutorials. It's actually not very difficult, but that is the trickiest part of it. And then possibly the BIOS, but they're going and making sure you have all the proper updates and everything's installed. But there are many instructional videos, even from Linus, by the way, and they're effective ones, that teach you how to install your BIOS, make sure everything's up to date, get your Windows OS going. They do a step. There's another one called Paul's Tech or Paul something. He does computers too, and he's more of a blue collar type of computer guy, not like Gamers Nexus. Those are ultra licensed nerds, right? But Paul's good. He creates he puts together a series that's very clear and easy to understand for anybody. So it's not hard. It's really not. You should try to do it yourself. Save money, enjoy. Find yourself a nice table space and just sit down a day and build your computer. I mean, do you realize what kind of computer in America for you Americans? What kind of computer you can build for $1,000, dude? Jesus, it's
shit.
impressive, dude. Now
Nah, wait to
that's not including a monitor, but still, it's pretty impressive, dude.
you can make a nice you can make a nice single board computer.
You could. They're getting with the
I'm doing
ITX little miniature form
the single board
factors
computer.
and all those kind of things. Yeah, it's cool, dude. It's cool. Honestly, I would go with for your first computer build, go with an ATX case, the standard size,
And
maybe
they
even
got
a.
and the power of those little things are regenerated.
Oh yeah, no, no, the all the things they're doing are pretty impressive. It definitely is. Matter of fact, they're kind of on the edge, like lithium batteries. Computers are sitting at that same kind of problem point. We've in many of our technologies right now, we're at a bottleneck and
Yeah.
we don't know how to get past it. Like lithium batteries, the idea of having electric cars in the future, well, it's a great idea. That sounds wonderful, but we're not there, and we're not going to
In
get
theory.
there. Yeah, well, not even in theory. The lithium battery problem is at the very edge of its capacity. It just is, and that's why we've had trouble with certain things, burning up. China, people don't talk about this in the West because I don't know
Yep.
why, but China has a huge problem. They have a lot of e-cars over there, in e-bikes particularly, and every day these things are exploding and burning on the street. Every day, because the technology is at the very edge of what it can handle. And then when you put shoddy workmanship and corruption and poor, flipping out a good material for bad just to save money, put in your pocket, which is the problem with China. It's just widespread disaster everywhere, right? And Samsung had the same issue. They pushed it too far. Remember, they had to recall those phones. The technology is there, and when you look at, say, the Tesla,
Oh
which is the best example we have right now, a Tesla is only going to last you 7 years,
yeah. And
right?
even with that,
You all right? Your mic went out. Hmm. Well, anyway, the Tesla, because maybe 10, they say 10. We'll see how that works out. But the problem with these lithium batteries is them storing energy, releasing energy, storing energy, releasing energy. It's not an infinite process. It is degrading every time, and eventually it's going to get to the point where that process is so degraded that the amount of charge you're getting is very small, and therefore you have to replace the battery packs. And it depends on the company. If you go with the little Leaf, that thing's looking at 5 years. Tesla says 10. We'll see how that works out. It's probably going to be closer to 7, but then you have to go buy an entire new battery deck for your car, and that's $20,000 for like a Leaf.
yep.
Imagine what the Tesla must be, right? So it's
So
just
basically, you might as well just throw your car away
and get a new
at
one.
the end of
Yeah,
its life cycle.
yeah, and then life cycle is
Don't
about
get
7 years. And how many people can afford ten
attached to it.
thousand
Also with
dollars a year for a
don't get attached to it.
Yeah, don't get attached to it. But I mean, think about you're basically with electric cars, you're looking at 7 and 10 grand a year that you need to spend to maintain and keep an electric car in the long run. How many people can afford that?
Hmm.
I mean, honestly,
They can't.
I'm definitely a middle
Most people
class
can't.
dude. I could afford it, but I would be bitching the entire time, right? To have to put up that kind of money, dude. And that's the problem with electric cars. And of
But
course, yeah.
even with you, that's still not a good return on your investment.
It's not. It's not. But you're also looking at the limited amount of distance you can travel. It's only a couple hundred miles, and trust me, after a couple of years, it's going to be less because those batteries are
Yep.
degrading on you. They're not going to stay at that optimal point. Matter of fact, it's going to degrade immediately on you. So it's a limited thing. The Tesla chargers are faster, but still, you're either stopped for many hours or you're just doing it overnight. So if you're an American, for instance, and you're doing a long-term run, which I've done several times in my life, you now have just increased your travel time by many days, right? Where I used to go from my home down to Mobile or down to Florida, I did many times, and that's basically 26 hours solid driving. You have to be young and stupid to do it, but you can, right? But if you're riding one of these electric cars, that's like a 3-day journey, dude. More. It's more than 3 days. It's like five, and that's you can't do that. That's not viable. So you take a plane or a train, right? And that's of course the ultimate point. They want you out of the vehicle. That's why they're doing this whole electric thing. It isn't about making cars better. It's about getting you out of them. That's the whole point. Yeah. But so there it is. So this initiative is not going to stop. The 2030 thing is coming. And but because it has nothing to do with electric cars, it has simply to do with controlling your movement. And they're constantly trying to do those kind of things. And we'll see because I see nothing on the horizon. There's been several, knee-jerk reactions to the statements of new technology, and I've gone and kind of looked at them, and it's like, yeah, those aren't viable, dude. I mean, it's unfortunate. I want a cool new technology, don't you? I mean, you. So, anyway, there's one thing we know how to do. It's multiply on paper and in bed. I don't know what that means. Yeah, they maybe they have gone back to making videos. I don't know. Anyway, let's Grimlock. Let's get into. I did had a couple stories. Let me go over here and take a look at them, huh?
All right.
So here it is. Is this it? Maybe this is it. Yeah, I think this is it. All right, let me bring it up. Yeah, there it is. Okay, well, let's go over this first one. And speaking of Tesla, go ahead and read that headline and the byline as well.
What we got? My thing is still loading.
It's okay.
If it lets me, I will. It's not letting me.
It's not loading.
Yep. Still,
Well, you can
yeah,
see it
it's
on
still
the
giving me the
YouTube.
little circle.
You can see
There
it
it
on the
goes.
there it goes. Yeah, there we go. All right, here we go.
Tesla drops the price of its full driving beta software.
And
Now the software will set you back $12,000.
okay. So they have their self-driving beta software, beta.
Yes,
And they've
which
decided in the kindness of their heart to reduce the price for your beta full self-driving software to $12,000. Now, keep in mind, you can get this with Toyota and Honda right now for what? Free. Because the technology that they have is no different than what Tesla has. And like I said, Toyota and Honda that comes packaged with all their vehicles free, right? But Tesla's going to, they're in the kindness of the heart, they're going to reduce that down to $12,000. That's the thing is, you know, Tesla is in a strange way is a boutique company, right? This is a
yep.
luxury thing for people who have money and have ideas, is what the Tesla is. And I'm sure they're fun to drive. Electric cars have incredible amount of torque and are going to be very, very speedy, right? Or did I get that backwards? Maybe I got that backwards. They're speedy, so you can certainly enjoy the fun of an electric car, but it's not viable, right? It just doesn't have long term unless you got nothing but money. If you got nothing but money, you're good. Get a Tesla, but it's an expensive prospect, dude. It's expensive, and you really need
Hmm.
to be making serious money to own a Tesla and for any kind of length of time. And this is true with all electric cars. They just they want to force the situation, like I said, because they want you out of cars. But the technology is not there, and this bottleneck of technology we're finding all over the place, right? Computers as well are running into bottlenecks, right?
Hmm.
So you know and it's probably one of the reasons why Nvidia is kind of getting out of the gaming GPU market, which is sad because they for the longest time were the only thing in the GPU market really. But
Yep.
their money's with AI, and that's where that's always who they were, and that's where they're going. But the reason, I think the big reason is they'll probably still be making them, they just won't be updating them. They're going to come out with their 50 series, and that's going to be it. They might even, who knows what they'll name it, and because it's at the edge of its potential. I mean, how much further can you possibly go? So I imagine the 50 series will be a banger series, and that will be the thing you can buy from Nvidia going forward for quite a while. So and I'm waiting for it too. But I'm lucky because I went on the YouTubes and I did my studies, Grimlock, and I bought the NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti. And boy, what a purchase that was! It's one of the best computer purchases I've ever made in my entire life. And it was $1,000. That wasn't nothing 7 years ago, dude. $1,000 for a freaking GPU, man. But I'm glad I spent it. Anyway, so you're going to be getting a Tesla anytime soon, chat? How about you, Grimlock? Are you going to be investing in an electric car? Grimlock says no. Yeah. But yeah, this is pretty crazy. I don't know what's going on with Grimlock today. Let me check real quick. Yeah, he's still here, but he's having mic problems for some reason. But I didn't want to get into it too much. Just that headline I thought was wonderful. Well, thank you. How gracious of you, Tesla. It's particularly because I have a Honda. How many of you guys got newer Hondas or newer Toyotas? Right, raise your hand. I'm imagine Mazda and Nissan have something similar. I don't really know. Ford, I don't know. But I do know with my Honda, I mean, sure, the engine package I have and the performance package is really nice, but the rest of the car is just a Honda, right? So you guys all have the same thing if you have a Honda. And I have that self-driving stuff in there, and I tried it a couple times, like, and then I didn't do it again. Because all it is basically a fancy cruise drive, is all it really is. So whatever. But this is kind of dumb. But a Tesla is an incredibly bloated, overpriced thing anyway. I thought this was pretty interesting. I don't know if I'm going to get Grimlaw back or not. His seems like his mic is dead. Um, I saw this right here, and until Grimlaw comes back, I'll just read the headlines. Elizabeth Olsen wants to do more than just Scarlet Witch as the MCU dominance quickly declines. There's no longevity in one character. Now, I don't disagree with this young lady at all, right? At all. She is correct. She had fun with that character. She should move on and do other things. 100%. But that statement is not true, though. A longevity in a single character is extremely viable if it's a good character. Look at all the things Hugh Jackman has done. He's done so many things. Theater that's his heart right there, theater. He's done so many movies. He's done tons of stuff. But what is he beloved for? Wolverine. And he put out a whole bunch of movies, and the longevity of that character is eternal. Look at Carl Urban. He's done a bunch of fun things, and notably several memorable characters. But he did a little one-off movie called called Dredd. Yeah, playing the Judge Dredd character. It didn't make money, unfortunately. It wasn't properly handled, but it is highly beloved because that is the true definition of a hidden gem. If you haven't seen Carl Urban's Dread, get to it because it's spectacular, spectacular. And he's beloved for it. So whether you have a character that makes you money, and because it has many opportunities, like with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, or something that doesn't make you money but makes you beloved, like Carl Urban and Dredd, there is certainly longevity in a single character, Miss Olsen. But in your regard, your character was kind of shit. So yeah, I'd move on. And they killed you anyway. And things are in such a debacle, even though I think most people believe that that was a temporary kill off. Yeah, the character's probably going to stay dead, and you're done with it. So move on, do something else. I agree. But
Um,
you know,
I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties.
oh, no problem.
Um, you have the right title for that for tonight because her
Yeah,
whole statement is one giant fucking cope.
it is, dude. I
The
know.
fact of
It's like
the fact
Tesla.
of the matter is, many of the Marvel characters that was popular, Scarlet Witch included, even though a lot of times Scarlet Witch is better is used more as a plot device than not.
Yeah, that's true.
Even with that, she was incredibly popular. She was one of she was one of the characters many people had wanted to see
Hmm.
in a live action setting for years.
Yeah,
Unlike Carol Danvers, who almost nobody wanted to see.
right. And I thought she
Um,
was fine. She was fine as Scarlet Witch.
and yeah, she was fine, but it goes back to um, no, Marvel has been trash in most forms for quite a while now,
Oh yeah.
and that trash leaked into the MCU because if they had done WandaVision the way so many of us thought the show was going,
Yeah.
it could have turned out a lot more interesting for her if they would have done the right thing, which at the end of that was
Mm.
to make her the villain. Because, yes, even though you could, empathize a little bit with Wanda for how she got to that point, at the end of the day, what she was doing was still wrong, and she
Very
had
villainous, not
and she,
wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, and
well,
she's
she had,
a monster. Yeah.
yeah, but because they so desperately wanted this nonsense, and again, one of their one, I don't know when this became an adopted philosophy by the people in the comic industry, where blah 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 is just a mantle.
Mm.
No, in most cases, it's not just a fucking mantle. Yes, I realize that in certain universes, like I do realize in DC, you could probably make that argument more. Not so much in Marvel. You
No, no,
cannot
definitely not.
just
No, they're more street level. Yeah. Yeah.
you cannot just swap a character's power sets and costume to another character, and all of a sudden now that character is just as popular.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work like
Because
that. Yeah. And I,
yeah,
we've understood here from the beginning that movies and comics are different, and and that's okay. Right. So I don't mind that transition, but then transitioning once in place, no, stop it. Right. And they do that. Of course, they knew this character was dead. That's why in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which you see behind her, they did kill her off because she's a ruined character, as they do with most characters. But they made sure she literally shredded several of the biggest male names in Marvel comic books, didn't they?
yeah,
Didn't they? Yeah.
yeah,
She's not going to go out with a whelp. She's going to literally just defeat instantly Black Bolt and Reed Richards, like instantly, right? Because they're men and all that, right? So yeah, it's whatever. It's a wasted character. They should have just done the House of M, adjusting it, and I thought that's what they were going to do, and
a lot
ultimately
of
that's
people did.
kind of what they did. And I don't mind them adapting it in the way they did. I get that, right? But boy, did they miss the mark. They really missed the mark because and they could have had a redemption with her. She just become this all-out, just harsh, brutal villain, which is kind of where they kind of went with it. But of course, but she's right at the same time. It's just their mentality is weird. Um, it's just the thing you have to say with Marvel, particularly more than any of the other IPs we've seen ruined, is missed opportunity, right?
Yeah,
Lucasfilm is just an attempt to destroy it. And I've said this for years, you guys know this. I truly believe that Kathleen Kennedy has some angst against Steven Spielberg and Lucas, who she worked for a long time. She has some kind of little angst against them. Maybe it's even a righteous angst. Maybe they were dicks to her. I mean, maybe, right? It's possible. I mean, Steven Spielberg certainly looks like he could be an absolute dickhead. I mean, a little shit, I think Steven Spielberg can absolutely be, right? That guy is so full of himself. And George Lucas, I mean, come on, right? He's not a teddy bear. But she has some kind of angst, and she got herself in a position of authority over there, and she decided to tear it down. She's
Well,
giggling with glee at the destruction of it. I really believe in that
it's
situation. It's true. It's true.
well, as I've said, one of the overriding, I would say two of the overriding themes that we could pick out in this era is you have a lot of envious and narcissistic people who found ways to, if they couldn't get into a direct position of power like Kathleen Kennedy, yet they at least got into a position of influence. And these people, because many of them hate
Oh, that's the
the
word. Yeah.
stuff that they was put in charge of for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm sure Kathleen has some hatred towards them because she seems like a lot of these women who hate men.
Yeah. No. No. She's very, very
Uh,
hateful.
For for whatever her reason is, okay,
All right.
you thought
Okay.
you should have been something bigger than what you was. I mean, hey, look,
Maybe, but this also
90.
could be something else too. I mean, look, take a look at young Kathleen, because I mean, we don't like her, but and she's
She's
done
been ugly for a long
surgery.
time.
Yeah,
No, no
but
shock there.
she's actually not an ugly woman. She's quite attractive. She just, stop
No.
cutting on your face. She was cute as a young kid. And this is when she started being an assistant to directors and stuff. And who knows, like here, who knows what kind of little advantage this shithead was taking with this girl, right? Who knows? Right? This could have been his side thing on set, right? It could have been, because the way he talks about her now is all she was good for was getting coffee. That's the way he talks about her now, right? She was useless. So why did he have her around then? Because she's cute. Look at her. He might have been. I don't know. It's a
I
speculation.
wouldn't say so, but I mean, hey,
She's cutish. I'm not saying she's beautiful because she's not, but she's cute. And if you're a director on set and you're doing your thing and you're a bit of a jackass, which we know Spielberg is, and you're diddling this thing on the side, your little side piece, yeah, sure, I can see that happening. I'm sure it well did, and maybe she's carried some angst for that. That was her decision, but it's a projection thing, right? I mean, I'm just trying to understand it. I don't know the truth, but I do know in this particular situation with Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy is trying to destroy, and she has. She's succeeded. There's no other explanation. You can't look at it logically. You can't look at it from a business point of view. You can't look at it creatively and see any reason or purpose to anything she's done other than she's trying to tear it down and destroy the legacy, which she has done. And maybe she just got some anger toward these guys. Because keep in mind, back in the day when that group came out of university, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were like freaking thieves, right? They were locked
yeah,
together. Those two, they were doing a lot of shit. They were interacting with each other for Star Wars, for Indiana Jones, for all kind of things. Those guys were as thick as thieves, and there were more of them. It was that whole big graduating class that came out, right? But those two particular, Spielberg and Lucas, and George, those guys, they were really tight. And she was from, as you've seen, when she was really young, she got in and was basically a helper, a gopher runner official. I'm sure she got assistant executive producer title, but she was basically just go get this or get me some coffee initially. And who knows what they did to her, dude. You know how these Hollywood types are, because she's pissed. You can tell.
that's true. But we also have a lot of petty and vindictive people in this world,
Yeah, well, I mean, like
and
I said, she made the
that could
choices.
be.
Yeah.
And that could be, oh well, they never used my ideas, or they never did this. Well,
Yeah, no, I don't feel that. Because the reason I say this is because I have experience in observing human behavior, right?
yeah,
And Not only, we all have experience, but I've actually studied it extensively, psychology and things like that are kind of part of our anthropology. I don't know if you guys know that, but uh, she's not acting like that. She's acting like a woman who feels she's scorned. Now, of course, it's, she made the decision to do whatever she did. Those were her choices, right? But
Yeah.
how many people, let alone women, take responsibility for the shit they do? I mean, honestly, right? We see a huge lack of responsibility in the world today, and women have never been known for that. That is much more of a male trait, to own up and take responsibility. But then again, it's not 100%. It's certainly not all. But it does tend to be more of a male trait than a female trait. And I just feel because of the toxic, hateful anger coming out of that woman, something went on back in the day that she
Could
blames
be.
them for and takes no responsibility for. I just think so. And
I mean,
she's got shit on somebody, because there's no way they keep her in there otherwise. She's got something on somebody, dude.
I believe it.
Yeah, she has to have. And of course, she did marry a big time executive producer, one of the keystone cornerstone Jews she married.
Yep.
Mm. Little Irish girl done good. But anyway, now I have a question, because I'm going to talk about this one next. You know that Full House where the Olsen twins were on, and then there was that disgusting thing where they're about to become 18, and people were counting down to the point that they would be legal. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That.
them.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
nasty shit.
yeah, nasty ass shit. Dude, no, is this a relation of those twins?
Yeah, Elizabeth. Yeah, she's
Is she an older sister or something?
I
Younger
believe so.
sister? I don't know. I don't know. But of course,
Yep.
there are more than one person called Olsen. I'm aware. I just wondered because she kind of looks like him in the face a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that disgusting stuff. But uh, I'll get to that later because I want to cover these other things first. But enough with Elizabeth. You do this, girl. Yeah, this is done for you. You go somewhere else. You do something else. Try to make a career. She's not a bad little actress. She's a little bit bland, but she's not that bad. We definitely have way worse than Elizabeth Olsen, right? She's got a little bit of
Yeah.
chop to her. So, you go do something, girl. You go do that. Anyway, this right here I think it's horribly sad but hilarious at the same time. Go ahead.
Embracer Group shuts down Volition Games after disastrous Saints Row reboot.
Wow.
Tough titty nigga.
Down there, absolutely, dude. Now talk about a
We
come
told
out.
you so.
No, well, yeah, and talk about come out of nowhere success story with Volition, right?
Yeah.
Because but it was well deserved. Saint Row is wacky, over the top, fun nonsense, and they
Yeah.
lost that vision. Now, I've heard an argument recently, because I don't ultimately care. I think there's a lot of agenda going on. But we hear this statement, and I've certainly used it myself over the years: "Go woke or go woke, get broke." Right? Go woke, get broke. It's a very standard trope, and it certainly seems to play out a lot. But there's a little guy on the internet. He's incredibly eloquent, albeit vulgar. His name is Razor Fist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he has a theory that it's not go woke, get broke. It's get broke, go woke, ultimately croak, is his take on
Yes.
it. And I thought about it for a little bit, and there might be some validity to his statement, actually. It could be
Well,
that they
yeah,
could.
because well, the way he broke it down is a lot of these companies go broke for various reasons. A lot of times it's mismanagement,
Yeah.
and they to keep afloat long term, they start looking for big money donors, and unfortunately, because they've been mentioned so many times, we all know who those big donors are. It's usually the Black Rocks and the Vanguards and
Well, they're the ones that
those,
are
you know,
pushing it for the Bilderberg Group. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So a lot of these companies do it, and BlackRock in particular has made no bones about it that to get their money, you're going to do
yeah.
things their way.
And you can tell
Um,
that with these companies like Disney that they are on board with it because honestly, if I were in that kind of financial situation and I needed my distributor was saying that we need to have this separately funded. You can't just pay money. We need to because that's what they do in Hollywood. Not, but I mean not just Hollywood in business today. They're constantly taking loans and moving money around in this way instead of just paying for it. It's part of their scheme, right?
yeah,
And I don't know if it works or not. But I imagine there's some validity to it. But therefore, they have to go through these companies. But if I was in that situation and this is how it functioned, and I had a company saying, "Oh well, yeah, yeah, but we're not going to allow you to get distribution rights or give you money to be as the way we do it, unless you follow these certain social requirements." I would take them to court and sue the shit out of them. Because what right do you have to tell me in regards to bank loans, social requirements? Matter of fact, I do believe that is illegal. But the fact
well,
that nobody has taken them to court for it tells you a lot because they should be taken to court. And if one of these big companies just took them to court, they would win the case because there's no leg to stand on. You cannot require a business engagement in the United States of America and other countries as well, but particularly the United States of America that has social requirements. We have protections, bitch.
we
They're called
should,
the
but
Bill of
for some
Rights.
it should, but for some reason it does not seem to apply to
Well,
corporations and corporate money.
but it shows you that they're all on board. That's why
Yeah,
it's not because a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just BlackRock forcing it." No, 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 no. Any one of these big mega corporations could have took them to court easily. They have literal teams of lawyers on retainer or even in offices every goddamn day. They could take them to court easily, and they would absolutely hammer the hell out of BlackRock. But they don't. This is the important little bit that no one pays attention to, right?
yeah,
It's a bigger picture. This is a Bilderberg move, right? Now, the Bilderberg Group, for those of you who don't know, is a banking consortium. Now, yes, it is led by the Rothschilds, as I know, but it's not just the Rothschilds. It's a bunch of banks, European banks, Swiss banks mainly, working together in Belgium as well, but it's mainly Swiss to become richer. I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's pretty straightforward. Businessmen trying to make money, right? And keep in mind that there are many banking groups on this planet. And this is the thing that the conspiracy theorists get wrong. They always focus on one little teeny detail because they found something and they're digging at that one little thing and they're scratching at it, right? But it's bigger picture. You got to back up and look at things. There are many banking consortiums on this planet that are constantly banging against each other to get the advantage. And the reason these consortiums came together is because they can make more money working together than against each other. But the groups still stand. So I don't know if they've successfully divorced themselves of that because they still bang at each other. But look what happened to America. The whole creation of the IRS, what came out with Social Security eventually, and all that kind of the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private company. Keep in mind, it's not actual government. All of that came out of an American banking consortium,
yeah.
right? This has been going on a long time, and I don't know their ultimate agenda, but they have one, and it's about power, money, and control, right? And they're the ones behind this shit, um, and everyone's on board. And if I had the time and I were able to go look at all these ESG companies and I were able to trace their ownership, I kind of bet you that most of them are owned by the consortium itself or a consortium under their control. I bet you that you did a little bit of work, because here's the thing. What is the number now? Just the Bilderberg Consortium, just that consortium, which ultimately are 5 megabanks, right? And some smaller ones, but mainly 5. They control, what was it, 74% of the world's debt?
A
What?
lot of fucking money.
That's a lot of money, dude. And that's what this is all about. It's about their agenda and what they think. And like I said before, I believe that they truly believe they're helping, because there's too many humans, in their opinion. They need to reduce the human population, and they need to control it for humanity to survive into the future. I do believe that some of the people at the top truly believe that, or at least paint themselves as believing it, right? Because I don't think this is just pure evil villainy. I do believe there is some illogic involved as well. But nevertheless, anyway, that was a rant. Embracer Group, done. Because without volition, what is the Embracer Group?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. What a shame, though, man. This was such a goofy, quirky, just the thing with Saints Row is a term I would put on it is non-political. It's fuck political, is what Saints Row always was. It was just in your face, stupid punk. That's what Saints Row is. It's just punk. And look what they did. Oh my god, dude! This last game was
Yep. And they
disgusting,
took, and it's not like they didn't get a warning.
and it was buggy as shit. It didn't run well. It was an
Yep.
absolute mess of a game as well. I mean, talk about really not understanding
A
your
failure
customer.
on all fronts.
Yeah, no, it was. And especially Saints Row, because it's irreverent, is what Saints Row is, and they made it all like polished and church going, is what they did. It's just the Church of Woke.
Yep.
But I mean, that's what they did. They polished it right up and made it into something it's not. I mean, Saints Row was this just goofy, you know, bonkers, irreverent thing, and people liked it because of that. And they destroyed it. Like in this case, though, with Kennedy, I really think she's on a tear. But in this case, I think it's just this lack of meritocracy. I think they actually did
Yep.
want success, but the lack
No.
of meritocracy, you can't survive that shit.
No, because they was warned. Look, everybody has seen whenever they have tried to force something into into video games. Like, of all the mediums, they have tried to force shit down. Games is really the one medium where the fan base, the audience, by and large, fought back from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
That's why they still talk. They're still talking about
Gamersgate.
fucking Gamergate
Yeah,
8 years later,
yeah,
because gamers from day one said, "No, we ain't putting up with this shit."
yeah. And keep in
We
mind how that all happened. Everybody, don't forget, it was basically a
ho.
reviewer. It was a hoe, yeah, but it was a video game reviewer gave a high review to a really bad, stupid game because he was diddling the creator, and it came out, and they all decided, all these gaming press decided to come together and cover their ass and throw shade and yell words like Nazi and transphobia and all the kind of nonsense they do. That's when we really saw it start. But keep in mind, the legitimacy of Gamerscape was very, very simple. How can we trust your opinion on a game if you're in essence nepotism, right? I mean, how can we trust you? That's what the whole thing was. This guy was diddling a girl and gave her gamer a good review, and they were called out for it, and they circled the wagons and made it something else. It didn't have to become that. They could have just simply fired that guy, that one guy. They could have fired him. What company was that? Was that Kotaku or Polygon? What company was he reviewing for? Do you remember? I don't remember.
Not off the top of my head.
But whatever, they could have easily just fired that guy for bad journalism, and it would have been done. Done. But no, 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 no. They made it a thing, and that thing is still going on. But no matter what they say, what do you hear about it? Maybe you're coming after the fact. Just keep in mind that whole thing that's was the heart of it. There was this girl who created this dumbass game, and she was sleeping with a reviewer, and he gave her a good review. That's the whole thing, right there. So by volition. So sad.
Rest in peace, niggas.
Yeah, rest in peace.
You
Here we
did it to
go.
yourself.
We got the another interesting thing going on here.
The industry leaders in Copium,
Hmm.
Activision Blizzard, to begin using AI for global real-time voice chat moderation in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Yeah, because you haven't had enough bad press in the last decade.
Right, right. But now let me kind of. I'm sure you guys know what this is, but just for those who don't, what they're talking about is in Call of Duty, which is an EA sport. Excuse me, not EA, an e-sport, without question. Matter of fact, it was probably one of the original ones, wasn't it? COD for sure. But in there, people are having competitions and they're chatting on these mics like Discord or wherever they're using. We used to use TeamSpeak, but these days there's probably software I don't even know about. But nevertheless, what they want to do is use AI, and if you say the wrong thing, they're going to kick you out. Is what they're going to do with this, and they will, and they'll successfully get rid of most of their players, and it'll kill COD, so it's dead. But then again, it's been dead for a while, to be honest with you. Apex Legends seems to be the one that's getting on the view now, but nevertheless, I put this here not for Call of Duty shooting themselves in the face again. It's the AI thing.
Yeah.
They feel, Activision, Blizzard, keep in mind, it's Microsoft. The deal's gone through, right? Um,
Yep.
they are confident enough with their AI that they think they can monitor the entirety of the COD voice interaction with AI. Wow. That's a step up, dude. I mean, but think about the use of it. Let's say you make a big game like Starfield that just came out, and it seems like most of the reviewers seem to be fairly happy because all the reviews I've seen is it's not that bad, and that's somehow a good thing because Bethesda's usually just bad, so it's not that bad. Is everyone's happy with not that bad? Okay, fine. But imagine all of the complaints they get through their Discord or Twitter or whatever it is they use to, because I don't do that kind of stuff. Um,
Hmm.
Using the AI to handle it all. That's either coming or it's already here. It might already be here. That's quite a statement. I mean, understand AI policing the entirety of real time voice chat in Call of Duty. That's a lot, dude. That's a lot. That's millions of interactions a minute, a second even. I don't know.
I think it's a horrible move.
Mm,
I get it. Get
mm,
why they're doing it, but no. It for one, um, Call of Duty has experienced diminishing returns for years.
long
You
time.
just had some bad press with the whole incident with the streamer from FaZe Clan
All right. That's right. Yeah.
be- calling him, basically the throwing the old istophobes at him
Hmm.
for saying something that 90 fucking 5% of the world agrees with. But
Yep. No, it's definitely
you
true.
know,
They've had their problems. That they're not alone. There's many. But so I guess I get why they're doing it. But it's that's
not a
an
good look.
interesting thing because you know even though it's having diminishing returns as you said, there are still millions of COD players still.
Oh yeah.
And to have an AI that can monitor that second to second, that's impressive technology, dude, right there. It's pretty impressive. And you know it's going to be coming in, more and more at us. So all of this pushback, all of these trying to make new laws, these strikes, and all the kind of nonsense that's going over about AI, it ain't going to do shit. It's here, and you ain't putting the genie back in the bottle, dude. You ain't. So it's interesting that Blizzard was the first one to pull that trigger, or is it? I don't think it's surprising at all. Keep in mind this is being bought by Microsoft, but it is, as we stand at this current moment, a Chinese company. Activision's owned by Tencent, right? Pretty sure.
No.
Pretty sure. Yep. But anyway, there you go. There's a big jump in AI right there, and also for freedom of speech. But screw that. We don't need none of that. Let's move on to this one right here. Now, I never watched Full House, but well, go ahead and read the title.
Fuller House star Jodie Sweetin is disappointed that the Great American Family acquired the rights to her latest film. Any potential, uh, any potential or future money made from the sale will be donated to LGBTQ plus organizations.
Okay.
Honey,
Um, yeah. Go ahead. What?
calm your titties.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I never watched Full House or Fuller House. Uh, I don't know what any of that is. But I know what it is. I know the Olsen twins, and yeah, I never watched that show. It was way past my childhood, and it just looked dumb as shit. Because it was American TV sitcom in the early '90s. They were dumb, right? And stuff like Three's Company was dumb, but it opened the door for more inanity, right? Those kind of shows, and they just got dumber and dumber until then they decided to get all dark and grim in the '90s. And then we got like X Files, we got Fringe, and other stuff got a lot more serious. How I Met Your Mother, right? It's a comedy, but it's more serious, I guess. I never watched an episode of that either, but nevertheless, I watched a couple. This is Fuller House, so maybe this is something more recent. I don't know.
Yeah, it was the I guess you could say reboot sequel, whatever the fuck that they did
Whatever.
on Netflix. It did really well, actually. Um, and as David pointed out, yeah, Great American Family. Yeah, we talked because I think we talked about it. That was the part
We
of
did.
the Hallmark channel that
Right.
you know separated because they just want to do what they consider wholesome TV without this virtue signaling bullshit.
Right,
That
but to be fair with the Hallmark thing, I had more of a feeling that they were like, well, we should be open to everyone. I didn't feel that was as insidious what Hallmark was doing. I understand the Christian aspect of it, wanting to separate themselves, and they did, and they've had great success. But I don't feel that the Hallmark was being insidious or evil. I think they were just like, well, we really should cater to everybody. I just felt so.
it's not insidious, but
No.
once you build a reputation and everybody knows what you are, and you decide to do something like that,
Right.
you shouldn't be surprised when because that's what you made your audience on.
Yep.
I mean,
No, you're right.
again, you could be right. It may not have been insidious, but to the people who made that decision,
Well, they're dead
you
now.
also have.
Yeah, it's dead
It's
now
like
anyway.
you can't make those kind of decisions with that making that. It's like all of a sudden like you own a ramen restaurant, and then all of a sudden you decide, I think I'm going to be a burger joint from here on out.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's not insidious
Suicide.
that you
No,
did that,
stupid. Yeah.
but you're known as the ramen shop.
Right. Unless you were
People came
bad
here for
ramen.
fucking ramen.
Right. But no, you're right. You're right. I just don't think it's the same situation we're seeing in other places. It wasn't as insidious. But because everyone involved were Christian types, right?
And
But
and,
greater.
and ironically, this girl. complaining about it when, if I'm not mistaken, one of the aspects about this show that people talked about was the size of her titties because puberty, I guess, was very nice to her.
Well,
Um,
I don't know. I didn't watch
you
it. She's not
so
particularly attractive, but whatever. That doesn't matter. But she's clearly a lesbian, though. So men aren't getting to
I,
hold them titties. So those are girl.
I,
Those
I,
for
I
ladies.
don't know. I don't know if she is or isn't
No,
because
no,
after
she's
all,
very clear.
white.
If you read the article, she's talking about her family. She identifies herself as lesbian. She definitely
Oh,
does. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And
oh, it's Hollywood. Half of them identifying for paychecks.
or just go to France, find a woman in France that's not a lesbian. Good luck. So it's similar. Our France is we call Hollywood, but I don't know anything about it. She did this thing called "Craft Me a Romance," which must be wholesome because Great American Family bought it, and she ain't happy. She's not happy. How dare they buy a film I was involved with, even though I have no investment beyond my time? How dare they? Any money or residuals I get, I'm going to give to the LGBTQ, which means she must be doing well for herself, be giving up money. So, whatever. But she's very upset about it. And this article mainly goes in, yeah, she's not a very attractive woman. But this article goes into talking about the split up with Hallmark and all that kind of stuff. And she's very. She's very, very angsty about it for some reason. Now, here's the thing: a company that is a Christian company, I get it, um, liked your work enough to buy it and put it on their Christian network, so it must be wholesome, right? Why would you care? I mean, honestly, have you heard anything come from Great American Family officially that is anti homosexual? I know they were very
No,
uncomfortable
but
about those
it's
ads that were running on Hallmark. They were uncomfortable about it, but they're Christians, and you know,
well.
most
Also, I will
Christians
say
are
this:
kind of Christian about shit, right?
it's because a lot of, I guess you could say, middling actors and actresses in Hollywood do this shit. John Leguizamo is a great example of this. Notice,
Oh yeah, he
like,
definitely is. Yeah.
what they made their reputation on to what they are currently, and it's constant virtue signaling. And you could tell it's from people like this. Why are they doing it? Sending the signal. Hey, I'm willing to play the game. Whatever you tell me to say, I'll go out there and say it. Please hire me. That's what this is.
Right. No, I know.
This is her.
Yeah.
This is a big.
Needs
This is
more
this
work.
is.
Yeah.
I don't think she's LGBT. I think she's trying to get. She's trying to score her next paycheck,
Maybe.
whoever that next paycheck is coming from. Because, no, seriously, like, if you look at the big stars, right? Right. You've never seen the big stars, even the ones who we know have obnoxious points of views. They don't do this shit because they know their next check is coming.
Yeah, they
They
do.
know where
Like
and they know who it's
Tom
coming from.
Cruise. Yeah, yeah. But maybe.
But
But she did identify herself with the LGBT though. She did.
yeah, because
Um.
it's an easy way to keep to
Sure.
to signal I'm here to play.
Right. No, I
Please
get it.
hire
I
me.
get it. We know that's true. This right here is the commercial that caused the angst and the breakup of Hallmark and the creation of Great American Family, which was a smart move because they're doing really well. They're really doing
Well,
well, which
here,
this pisses people off as well. But let me
well,
finish my
yes.
point real quick though. This
All right.
I never haven't seen this commercial, but just this one still shot is laughable because um, you know when you see a couple, right? A couple that's going to the point of actual marriage. You can see that couple and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's a couple." Because they look correct. I can't explain the math to you or the science, but we all know it's true. When you see a couple, it looks like a couple. This right here does not work at all. I cannot believe in this still shot that these two ladies have barely even a friendship, right?
No, it's fake as hell.
It's
But you look,
so
you look
unbelievable.
with the girl in the dress. She looks like she's staring out into space, going, "Okay, can we wrap this up? Can I get my check and go now?"
Right. It just doesn't work. I know there are outliers, but this just doesn't look correct at all.
Also, the guy looking like he's a, I don't, the effeminate preacher in the background.
Oh yeah, extremely
Um,
effeminate. Yeah.
to Christian people, I'm pretty sure that is seen as blasphemy.
Yeah. Oh sure. Yeah.
So just that even being in the picture would be insult. Like, I'm not a Christian, so um, I would but I would understand if they was insulted by that, because you wouldn't be doing that in a Muslim country, and we
No,
know
they
you
wouldn't,
wouldn't.
and that's a whole nother conversation. But
So
and
yeah,
more this
it's
kind of
fake.
stuff.
Also, and also we know that the gay lesbian shit is ridiculously over romanticized. I mean, for fuck's sake, for a group that doesn't even make up 5% of the country, the world, much less this country, to constantly hear about how they have these great idealized romances, when we not only know that it's bullshit, we have the statistics to prove that it's bullshit.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the
a little
homosexual
bit off
relationships are
top,
the most violent. Yeah.
you notice that they're always quick to throw up a male athlete getting caught for domestic violence, even if he's exonerated. Meanwhile, a woman from the WNBA just last month, in her second domestic violence case, where she went back and strangled her spouse,
Hmm.
didn't kill her, but did try. Guess how many? Guess how many national outlets are talking about it?
None, and she probably won't get in any trouble. We know there's a disparity in the injustice between men and women. We're well aware of this.
Yeah.
All men know this, and
So
it is what it
it's
is.
not, but it's not just that. It's just that it's all that idealized picture that they're constantly putting. This love is love bullshit. It's paranoia and jealousy.
Yeah, maybe.
It's and violence. That's what the average LGBT um, relationship is. I know people who have been in them. I've seen them secondhand. Like I said, we have statistics to back it up. I'm sure a lot of people are tired of seeing it because they know it's bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm pretty sure all these people who already have a hard religious stance to begin with, and they see this one of the few channels they thought they were safe, I could see where they flipped out.
yeah, and here's another example. These, I'm assuming, they're obviously being sold as a couple for some Christmas thing. But this a little bit better, but still, it doesn't quite work. I don't see these two as a couple. It's a little bit better though. But this is just, but whatever. Hallmark and Great American Family, these are the B grade of romance. And that's what they are. They're
Yes.
B grade. Now, I don't know. I'm not into those kind of films, but I love me a good B action movie or a B horror. I love it. So maybe it's
Oh
the
yeah.
same quality. I don't know. You know, but whatever. It's dumb. And the thing is, Miss, I don't know who you are at all. What's her name? Jodie Sweetin. I really don't know
Mm-hmm.
who you are, ma'am. But no one gives a shit. No one cares. You do whatever you want to do. And no one cares. Okay. Moving on. Last story. Good story, maybe.
Director Chad, what the fuck name do you have, brother?
Stalski.
Stalsky.
Hmm.
Chad Stalsky reveals his vision for the Highlander film starring Henry Cavill. I do like that. I do like that picture.
Yeah,
It
well,
is.
on the rare occasion that Henry actually showed up as Geralt in The Witcher, those rare moments, he was
Yeah.
freaking awesome. Particularly when he had to say, "This dude does action well. He really does it well." Henry's the real deal in that regard. And so, unfortunately, The Witcher wasn't about The Witcher. It was about other people. It is what it is, and it's dead now, right? Um, but having Henry as in a sword action role, he commits, dude. That's the thing. That's the reason why we like Henry, because he puts the effort in, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's not. I don't necessarily need more Highlander. I really don't. But he is British, so that's better than the Frenchman they had in the original. So I don't know, dude. What do you think? I did
I
love
want to be.
Christopher Lambert.
I
Yeah.
want to be excited,
Mm.
but even before the woke shit, I was tired of reboots
Yeah. Nah, that's my
because
point. Yeah. The Kurgan.
because
Clancy Brown, baby.
it was
Anyway, sorry.
it because even before the infestation of the woke shit, you got so many reboots that were low effort bastardizations
Hmm.
where the only reason these movies existed so that the studios could keep a hold of the IP, or that you know maybe strike some lightning in a bottle that people would
Right.
just go out and spend on member berries,
And this was one of those
and
movies. Yeah.
you got dog shit after dog shit reboot,
Mhm. But
and
keep
then
in
the woke
mind,
shit starts.
yeah, well, keep in mind though, who owns the Highlander? Because it's a 20th century Fox property, right? Unless somehow it's gotten
Yeah,
bought and sold out from under it. So what does that mean? That means Disney owns it.
yeah. And if there's any reason to be afraid, that's a pretty good reason to be afraid.
It is, and I don't know why Henry would be biting into that, knowing that what he's going to have to deal. He's already had experience dealing with these shitheads. But we do know though, all other things aside, the sword play will be excellent because Henry looks great wielding a sword. My God, he looks so good sword fighting. I mean, it's some of his best action I've ever seen. His sword moves in The Witcher, and that scene where he's fighting the Justice League in the Justice League or whatever it was called. Um, that was great action. But he's really, really clean at that. Let me see real quick. I'd imagine Disney owns it, but let's see.
If it's still under 20th Century Fox, then yeah, they own it. Yes, Roger. There's still a writer strike going on, but nobody cares because they, I'm pretty sure you're like most of us. Uh, there's no good guys in that fight. There's nobody we're cheering for.
No, no, we don't care. Let him rot. Let's see. This is talking about the same article. Had a source. Da 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 da. Reboot. Kevin consider. Direct movie. Okay, 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 okay. No, no, no. No. Okay. No, no,
Now
no.
that Deadline article from 2021 says Lionsgate.
Lionsgate. You saw something. Okay. So Lionsgate bought the series. All right. Well, that's better. That's better. A lower budget, but Lionsgate is a bit better. They are independent. Let's see here. Studio Canal is the owner of it,
Hmm.
and they probably distribute and work through Lionsgate. There you go. Studio Canal. So let's see.
From the looks of things, they've been doing Highlander stuff for quite a while,
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure if Lionsgate is two words. Um,
or at least let's see,
Frank.
subsidiary.
Okay.
Wait. Let's see, predecessors. Wait, go back.
Flagship. So it's Santa Monica is the headquarters. British Vancouver. It's a Canadian company originally. Lionsgate Television subsidiaries is Summit Entertainment. And Summit is so they own that. So I don't know. Studio Canal is listed as the owner of Highlander series, though. See?
Hmm.
but that's
but that
years
they don't.
up till now, to 2007. So maybe Lionsgate acquired it after that through Summit
Could
Entertainment.
be.
Maybe. But if it's not Disney, that's a good thing, because
Yes.
Disney would ruin the hell out of that. And I imagine that old Henry here is gun shy as hell, right? And
Pretty
he should
sure
be.
that
He's got plenty of
after
money.
his experiences with Warner Brothers and Netflix, I can't imagine.
Yeah, yeah. And he's got
I
plenty
can't.
of money, to be honest with you. He doesn't need to do anything.
I can't imagine him going into some of these movie deals where he's not trying to do, have some Hulk Hogan like creative power where he can look at the studio when they come to him with some fuckery and say that doesn't work for me, brother.
Right? No, I
Um,
mean, people these days blame Hulk a lot for his actions in that regard. But I tell you what, if he
it worked
didn't
out.
do that, there would be no Hulkamania. There would probably pro wrestling would look very different, because Hulk
Yep.
Hogan is what put the fire under the Americans and revitalized wrestling. Hulk Hogan did that shit, dude. Right?
Yeah, he
So
did.
you could
But
be as mad as you want
but
about it.
people always forget that he had a, I want to say like a 7 to 8 year period because people forget he started in the mid '70s where he
Yeah,
started off as a heel, went around the world, came back, and took things to new heights.
he did. I mean, because when I was young, I did watch wrestling, but it certainly was kind of grandpa's thing, right? It was your dad's thing. It wasn't modern and hip at all until you had the stuff with the WWF and the WCW. Those things were really kicking off. Ric Flair certainly has value, but he's an old school guy who lived forever, you know.
But even
Uh, but Hulk Hogan,
but
dude.
even then, like the popularity he had in Japan, the
Mhm.
man had a freaking manga in Japan, which I wouldn't mind getting a hold of if I could ever find it.
Really, that's interesting. But
I think him and Tiger Mask. I think Tiger Mask had a cartoon. He
well,
was so popular.
Tiger Mask is an industry unto itself over here.
Yeah,
It's literally a cultural icon, Tiger Mask,
yeah,
and Liger and stuff like that. But
yeah.
no, I mean, so yeah, that Hulk was very important in that regard. But
But
Henry,
yeah, in that regard, I wish some of these actors could just have that. I don't care. Call it the Hulk Hogan clause. I don't give a shit. Just when they
right?
come to you with some bullshit, just be able to look at them and go, "Doesn't work for me, brother."
Yeah. And
Well,
I say that Henry has plenty of money. Of course, I don't know how he manages his money. A lot of these Hollywood types don't manage it well, but he seems a little
well,
bit
he
more
builds his own
savvy.
computer, so he seems like a do-it-yourselfer kind
He
of guy.
does. He seems way more savvy. So he should be well set for his money, and that's a good position to be in. Now, um,
And you're more aware of this than I am. I'm pretty sure D and Warhammer stuff don't cost all that much.
oh no, no, Warhammer can be ridiculous for can be ridiculously expensive actually. In perspective, I suppose. But yeah, no, he's a proper nerd, and proper nerds tend to be a little bit more logical in their decision making. So I'd imagine he's fine for money. I wouldn't mind seeing it. It's been long enough, and we've had enough nonsense come out of it that it's just petered off and died. Highlander, it's just
Yep.
dead. So it's actually could use a fair reboot. But I don't know that I would want to just reboot. I don't know how I'd go about it, because do we need yet another Conor McGregor? Do we really? I don't know, dude. Especially because we know where it goes. I would, if I were going to do anything with Highlander, I think I would try to do something very, very different. Something that literally is just kind of using the name, right? And the
It,
quickening.
it's but it's just also one of those things where like I don't know if timepiece is the right word for describing a movie like that, but it's as '80s as it got. That movie.
Yeah, yeah. and it's fun.
and and not to mention the soundtrack. You have Queen on a soundtrack. You have me.
True. No, the soundtrack was amazing. And I, have said this before, and I will continue saying it. That movie doesn't work without Sean Connery and
Yep.
Clancy Brown, especially
Yeah.
Clancy. Clancy stole the frickin' show. Sean Connery was stupidly he was the only Scotsman in the goddamn movie, and he was
Yeah.
playing a Spaniard. But hey, you do you. But he was vitally important to that. But Clancy, oh man, Clancy was so awesome, and I liked Lambert. He was fine, but it was a sum of its parts type of success, and it was lightning in a bottle.
Exactly.
Um, the only reason I'm even, 'cause normally I'd say screw that, I don't need no more Highlander, right? But Henry's so good with a sword in his hand, though. I don't know how many hours this guy put in, dude. He must have put a lot, right?
Yep.
Because I don't talk about it much, but I was only really good at one sport in my life, and that's fencing. And I was a really solid fencer. And I went on to the SCA, which is, metal armor and wooden swords and just trying to kill each other. But I have actual experience with swordplay, lots of it, decades of it. So over time, whether you're good or not, you just kind of inadvertently learn how to do a thing, right? So I know how to hold a sword. I know how to move with a sword just because I did it so long, right? It isn't about being good or not. It's just about the amount of time and experience. And I'm impressed because I seriously doubt he has followed my path and was a fencer and an SCA guy. I don't think so. I think he trained for a role,
Yeah.
and in such a short period to make that so pretty. I understand it's not real combat, but we're not talking about, we're talking about the movies here, right? It's so gorgeous. Go back and watch. I mean, The Witcher's not worth watching unless you're into Yennefer. If you love Yennefer character, go watch it because that's what it is. It's a story of Yennefer. However, the few moments he does show up, oh, the sword play, oh my god, so beautiful. Have you seen his sword play in that?
Um, no, actually, I was about to respond to what Roger was saying. It's not that they're not creative; it's that most of these companies are not interested in taking taking any spending any money on something that they don't think they can get an immediate return on,
Yeah,
and
it's a numbers game. Yeah.
they have convinced themselves that, oh well, we've taken this, we could take this old franchise or IP whatever, and because it made money before, we could just take it, slap some bullshit on it, and because it has name recognition, it'll make money again. And it that has not worked. It did not work for, like we said, most of these reboots,
Hmm.
regardless of the wokeness or any of the other bullshit. It hasn't worked.
Right.
Most creatives also nowadays, because they know how these companies are and that they'll fuck them out of giving them proper royalties and residuals, that they're scared of pitching them ideas. They know they have the money, but they know that if they pitch them their ideas, you can end up like Bill Mantlo, where fucking Rocket Raccoon becomes one of the most popular fucking characters in the MCU. He barely got anything out of that.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Um, but
So
but a lot of these companies also, some companies are simply better at backseat driving than others, right?
yeah,
Like one of the most successful backseat driving, meaning the executives getting involved, would be like New Line Cinema, and
yeah,
New Line Cinema has put out many hits. Now, sure, it's in that kind of mid genre of hits, but for them, it's money, 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 money.
it was back in the day. It was New Line and Orion.
Yeah, but I mean, they were
Like
really
those were the
good at.
ones.
I mean, because James Wan, they pissed the hell out of that guy, because they messed with his project so bad. But they were
Yeah,
right though. See, some of these companies are really good at the backseat driving. New Line Cinema, that's why I mentioned them. They've had a lot of success coming in and countermanding their directors. saying, no, no, we think we need to do this. And of course, there's a fight, but in the end, they do what they want to do. But they have made very smart choices where the companies are not as good or absolutely abysmal at doing so.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's also matters there's time frames here. Like how is New Line Cinema doing right now? Well, what's the last thing I saw from them? Riddick? Not Riddick. Bloodshot? That was the New Line Cinema, wasn't it?
Was it?
Pretty sure. But my point being, some companies are better than others at doing that. So I don't know. Let me see here.
Columbia Pictures.
They've had their
Oh no.
success too. Yeah. Well, here we go.
That's who did Bloodshot.
Oh, I see. Let's see here. So this is their Sympathy for a Devil. That was a pretty good movie. 70s. Let's bring ourselves into the 90s where they had some good stuff in the 80s, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, series. But 90s they had some big hits, right? Let's see here. House Party, big hit. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, love, nothing but love, baby. Um, let's
Ninja
see.
Turtles.
Punch up the Ninja Turtle, punch up, pump up the volume. That was actually a pretty good movie. Kings of New York, Alligator 2. No. Let's see here. There's a lot of movies in the 90s was big for them, and they did a lot of that in the 90s, messing with stuff. Twin Peaks, big hit. There's a lot of hits in here. More ninjas. Jason Goes to Hell, of course. They had the Final Destination series that they did really well with. Island of Dr. Moreau, which was unfortunate, but let me see what they're doing now. Let me just get down to the bottom here. Okay, so quiet. They're quieter, quieter.
Oof.
No,
Oof.
no, not really. They are less noisy than before. Black Adam, ooh,
That's what I said. You got down to that
ooh.
2020s and 2023. It's a lot of oof.
Evil Dead Rise, ooh, so. The Nun 2, not good. Don't know why you did that. So maybe the current administration at New Line's not the old that 90s
Well, no,
administration. They were
the
smart.
new administration is Warner Brothers. So
Oh, well, there you go then. Because Warner Brothers is another company that's just freaking choking, dude. They have the new Final Destinations coming.
yeah. Mortal
Uh,
Kombat wasn't good.
no,
House
it
Party
wasn't.
reboot did not need to happen.
More Rush Hour, stop it. Salem's Lot, oh my
Ugh.
God, that is sacred ground. What are you doing? What are you doing? Um, that is sacred ground, dude. Salem's Lot. Be careful. Hairspray, they're still doing the hairspray thing. Who cares about hairspray? Um, Yeah, I don't. A time traveler's wife. That's like an old thing. Rings of Power. They're involved with that too. Oh goodness. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that's enough of that. So you know, there it is. Lots of copium going on. I do love the creation of this term, copium. It's such a good one because it applies so well. Um, it is a drug to them. These liberal or right-minded, right-brain people are become very addicted to emotional things. This is nothing new, but they become embraced into their church of woke, and it's full blown. And it's not the first time. I mean, another church that's been going on for a very long time is the Church of Darwin, right?
Yeah.
And the theory of evolution, the Church of Einstein, which he and Darwin both would be absolutely disgusted by. Those are actual true men of science. And they would not be pleased with their names being bandied about the way they are. They would not be, right? Especially both of them, the things that have carried on in their name, they both said, nah, that's not the right way to go. But yet those are the thing that they said that's not the way to go is where people have carried and gone on with their stuff. It's just another type of religion. The religion of Darwinism, the religion of Einstein, the religion of wokeism. They're religions.
Yep.
And therefore, religion is not science, it is emotional. Science should be the divorcing of emotion from a situation, looking at it analytically and challenging everything. Did you see with Tyson, that fake physicist they keep throwing the damn
On Neil
TV?
deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, that guy. Did you hear him the other day? It was like, but the consensus said, I swear to God, I want to reach to the goddamn screen and slap him. You know shit about science with that kind of statement. Consensus.
Him,
Science is all
him
about
and Bill Nye.
challenging the consensus. That's the whole point. God. Sorry.
They sold out, man.
Yeah. I'm going to have to jump out of here and get working for the rest of my day, but I do want to say, in that regard, to respond to that, Grimlock. I've been quietly, I don't talk about it here much. I get yelled at when I get into too much of history stuff here. But I'm going to have to do a show sooner or later, because what I would urge all of you to do, if you have any interest in history whatsoever, go take a look what the Turks are doing, Turkey, around Lake Van, VAN. Go do some
Mm.
research into that because those Turks are about to change the world, baby. And
Mm.
God, my God, Grimlock, what's coming out of Turkey right now, the archaeological community, especially those fucking Egyptologists, they must be chewing glass, dude, because it is insane. You realize the amount of the absolute master class level of stonework that they're finding and uncovering there. And it's some of the best we've ever seen. It's incredible detail. And would you like to guess the age frame that's coming out of that area? The dates? Would you like to guess?
2000 BC.
2000 BC. Wow, so young. Yeah. Keep in mind that in Turkey we also have Göbekli Tepe, which was a big deal. I'm sure you've all heard of it. 10,000 years ago. Ooh, really pushed the narrative,
Yep.
and the archaeologists had to accept it. They had no choice. They don't like it, so what they've
Mm.
gone in and says, "Oh, they're a bunch of hunter-gatherers that built themselves a temple." Idiots.
Okay.
The dates? We're talking about freaking city under that goddamn lake, dude. And it's beautiful. We're talking serious level stonework and it's insane art. It's beautiful, dude. The date that's coming out of there is the exact date it should be. Two things. If you look
Mm.
at the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Indians, all of them, they talked about a great golden age. And when was that?
Yeah.
40,000 years ago is what they keep saying, right? All those stories say it. But of course, archaeologists, anthropologists, they dismiss oral history completely unless it's convenient for them, right? But they all talk about that 40,000 years ago as being, a golden age. They all these
Yeah.
different disparate cultures talk about it, right? Um, and the dating they're getting out of Lake Van, 38,000 years ago.
Wow.
38,000. Boy, does that just blow dust right up their fucking skirts, dude. Isn't that beautiful? And you know what's
Doesn't blow it,
written?
but hell.
Well, dude, you know what's written all over the walls?
What?
The king, Hylak,
Mm.
and the other thing they're talking about. You know who that is? You know who that king is? That is
No.
the son of Japhet. You know who Japhet
Mm.
is?
No, sir, I do not.
Well, there's a little guy called Utapishtim, or Zerasudra, or as you probably know him, Noah. He had three
Ah.
sons, right? What were their names? Shem, Ham, and Japhet.
Mm.
It's written all over the freaking walls, dude. It's freaking awesome. When when history and when oral history and archaeology come together, it is a beautiful thing. So here's the
Yep.
deal: those ancient stories. Now, Utapishtim is the Noah story, but keep in mind the Bible is a very washed down, generic thing that, especially the Torah, because
Yeah.
it was written during the Babylonian captivity, and they had to kind of write in code. Right, so it's very generic. But
Yeah.
Utapishtim, Noah, I know you have this image of him as a sheep herder wearing these primitive linen, dirty linen bag over his body. He Noah was not a sheep herder. He was a king, right? Of course he was. Why would some frickin' sheep herder be asked to build anything? You go to a king if you want something done, right? But
Yeah.
nevertheless, Utapishtim was king during that cataclysm, of course, that came, and afterward his sons were split up by the gods who also survived the event, and they came in agreement that these would be have to go here, and they have these ones are going to have to go here, and the other one was left to do as he wanted, and that was Japhet, and he was considered the creator of Europe, is what the Jews' story is. And here we are, Lake Van, Turkey, right? A little countryside place. And the only reason they even found it was some farmer tripped over a freaking ear of a 20 some odd foot statue that was buried. Wow. Because just countryside place, no one paid attention. The locals knew the shit was there, of course, but the archaeological community had no idea. And it's just it's a ridiculously rich field of amazing archaeology and therefore anthropology. It's going to take a long time, but just the fact that the time periods we're getting out of it are very solid. 38,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago, and the fact that
Hmm.
the actual son of Noah's name is all over the frickin' place. This is the city, the civilization of Japhet. And wow, dude. Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Go study it. Go look into it, guys. If you care anything about that, it's really, really cool. Because that I don't know if I can express how big a deal that is. It's huge. It's huge. And the fact that we literally have a what in modern time would be a biblical character being proven as real, because you understand most of the Bible, the Torah particularly, and the New Testament as well, it's not very provable, right? There are a lot of things in there that just don't historically or archaeologically match up. And it's because it's
Yeah.
the generic Hebrew version or Hyksosean version, right? If you go back to the older versions of these, especially to the real old one with the Zir Sudra and of course the Epic of Gilgamesh, is where you would find that. But Utapishtim and that we have a lot of information about that dude. Um, and it's really impressive that we're actually seeing a the actual oral history and written history coming together with the archaeology. And the fact that Japhet is, he's written all over the walls, dude. It's so cool. It's going to change the world. Telling you, right now the Turks are being very hush hush about it. They haven't made public statements or declarations or had any big press meetings yet, because they've been working on this for a while too, quietly. I don't know why
Hmm.
they're being so quiet, because there are plenty of people who got wind of it, went over and had a chat, and they showed them everything. They walked them around the sites. They weren't hiding anything, but they're really not promote. They're not out there, with banners saying, "Hey, we have the most amazing thing ever." They're waiting for something. I don't know what they're doing, but you can go research it. There's a lot of information. It's just not mainstream, and maybe that's the problem, isn't
Could be.
it? Yeah.
It's not exactly the kind of thing they put much emphasis on these days.
No,
No,
and
they they
yeah, yeah.
they
Especially
have they have their pre-set up bullshit.
well, yeah, but also
That,
proving a Bible character is real. They don't like that. They don't like that.
nah, I don't think I don't think they're fans of that.
No. No. Of course, he's not even really a Bible character. None of the Bible characters are Bible characters. The Bible character is just a more modern collection of these stories, right? It's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, these are ancient things, and any Christian who's studied the book knows this. And it's not a that's not a sacrilegious thing to say. Actually, it's just the modern collection of that information. But you know, the Bible is so hated by the Western intellectual. What was the word I should use? Intellectual. Why can't I think of the word? Damn it. Intellig,
The
intel,
Western
intelligentsia.
intelligentsia.
Intelligentsia. Thank you. Whew. Anyway, they can't stand it, right? Torah, all these other kind of books, they have much they don't care about, but the Bible, oh, they hate that. They hate that, dude. So the fact that you have a prominent Bible name is alive and well in a giant lake, under a giant lake, and that lake, of course, is one of the best dating periods we have to it because it used to be a river go through there, not a lake, and that's why the entire valley is underwater. But it's insane, the stuff coming out of there, and the date 38,000, dude. It sits exactly where it should sit, right? Isn't that interesting? We found Troy, and layers of Troy fall exactly where they should fall, right? We keep finding these historical things, and they're exactly what the oral narration said they were. Shocking that humans would keep records, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta go. I gotta go do my day.
Mm.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming and joining me, Grimlock. I do appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
2 days we're doing our continuation of Omni Hero, a new campaign we're running, a four-color superhero campaign. So come check that out if you're interested. This week I think we're doing a Drawn and Quartered Ultimate Edition. I'm not sure. It's been a month, so I'm not sure what they're doing over there, but we'll see. But either way, we'll be back next week and we'll talk about some more fun stuff. But enjoy their copium because it's funny.
Yeah.
Later.